I moved states for my girlfriend, I will call her Kay, back in 2018, leaving everything behind, my friends, my small but comfortable apartment, and a stable job with good growth potential. It was a huge decision, but I was sure about our relationship. We had been together for 7 years and known each other for 10 years before all this happened. I grew up really poor, sometimes going days without proper meals. My mom worked 3 jobs but still struggled to keep us afloat after my dad left. I promised myself I would never live like that again. So I worked extremely hard through college, took extra shifts at my part-time jobs, and slowly built a career in software development. Every decision I made was focused on building financial security. Kay was completely different. She worked at a special needs housing facility for 10 years making just $14 an hour with no benefits. Her job involved feeding, bathing, and caring for adults with severe disabilities. The work was physically and emotionally draining, but she loved helping people. I kept pushing her to look for better opportunities. There were plenty of healthcare jobs with good benefits where she could still help people. But she was content staying in a job that barely covered her bills. The job issues caused constant arguments between us. I would show her job listings and help update her resume, but she always had excuses for not applying. Her workplace took advantage of this dedication. They would call her in on days off, make her work double shifts without overtime pay, and deny her vacation requests. I watched her burn herself out while they profited from government care grants. Things got worse when she had a seizure at work in 2021. Tests revealed she had a brain mass, a defect she'd had since birth but never knew about. Instead of supporting her through this health crisis, her workplace fired her claiming she was a liability. When she applied for unemployment, they changed their story and blamed it on phone policy violations. We consulted lawyers about wrongful termination, but they said it would be a costly fight with no guaranteed win. She needed brain surgery to remove the part causing seizures. I added her to my health insurance as a domestic partner, which cost me an extra $400 monthly, but I wanted her to have proper care. The surgery was successful and she's been seizure-free for over a year. During her recovery, I hoped she would use the time to think about her future. Maybe go back to school or get certifications that could lead to better jobs. Instead, she took another low-paying position at a daycare with no benefits or growth potential. Despite our differences, marriage had been a topic for years. I put it off because I wanted us aligned on important things like finances and future goals. Eventually, I felt ready to commit after she agreed to work on building more security together. We went ring shopping one Saturday and spent hours looking at different styles. She fell in love with a vintage-style diamond ring. I planned to buy it and propose the following weekend. That same evening, we were both tired from shopping and lay down for a nap. While she slept, I had a sudden urge to check her phone, something I'd only done twice before in 7 years. What I found destroyed me. There were multiple ongoing Snapchat conversations with different guys spanning months. They exchanged explicit photos and videos regularly. She had streaks going with several of them, meaning they messaged daily. This hurt especially bad because Kay was never very sexually open with me despite my attempts to explore more intimacy. She would get uncomfortable talking about sex and rarely initiated anything. Yet here she was sending provocative content to random men and having sexually charged conversations. When I confronted her, she became violent, scratching my arms and chest, ripping my shirt trying to get her phone back. She left to stay with a friend while I remained at her mom's place since I had nowhere else to go in this state. When we finally talked days later, she claimed she felt inadequate because of our work arguments. She said my pushing her to find better jobs made her feel like a failure. The attention from guys online gave her validation when she felt worthless. I know I pushed hard about her career, but I only wanted her to reach her potential and have security. We tried working things out with therapy and medication, but 2 months later I'm struggling worse than ever. I started vaping again after being nicotine-free for a year. I drink most nights just to quiet my mind enough to sleep. My work performance is suffering and I've had to take several sick days when the anxiety gets overwhelming. Kay was my first real love long before we dated. We both dated others before reconnecting years later. My heart says to try forgiving her, but my mind says to leave. I have abandonment issues from my father leaving when I was 8. I don't maintain many close relationships besides Kay since I tend to get too clingy and push people away. Leaving means being alone in a new state while managing thousands in medical debt from her surgeries. My career is going well here with 2 promotions in 3 years. Going home feels like giving up my success. I've had suicidal thoughts recently after being stable for 6 years. I just need advice on processing this betrayal and deciding whether to try trusting again or walk away. Both options feel impossible right now. My walls were up for good reason and this proves I can't trust anyone. But being alone terrifies me too. Any insight would be appreciated. Update 1: After reading hundreds of comments urging me to end things, I finally gathered the courage to break up with Kay. I waited until she left for her morning daycare shift, then spent 3 hours packing my stuff. A colleague helped me find a small studio apartment near work. Those first few days alone were brutal. I barely ate or slept, just lay in bed staring at the ceiling. But I forced myself to keep showing up at work since my career is all I have left. Kay bombarded me with calls and messages. Most were crying apologies, but some turned angry, accusing me of abandoning her like everyone else. After a week of ignoring her, I agreed to meet at a local coffee shop, thinking it would give me closure. I showed up to find her clutching a thick manila envelope. Inside were printed screenshots of all her Snapchat conversations. She said she wanted complete transparency to rebuild trust. As I started reading through them, my hands began shaking. The messages went back over 2 years, long before her health issues started. She had been exchanging explicit photos and videos with at least 5 different guys throughout our relationship, including a coworker from the special needs facility. When I questioned her about the timeline, she broke down sobbing in the middle of the cafe. She admitted using her brain surgery recovery as an excuse to step up the behavior, but it actually started because she felt lonely during my late work hours. According to her, she never met anyone in person, it was purely online validation. But then she accidentally mentioned one guy bringing her lunch at work several times. I stood up to leave, but she grabbed my arm hard enough to knock over my coffee. She started yelling that I drove her to do it by making her feel financially worthless. The cafe staff had to come over and ask us to leave. Out in the parking lot, she followed me to my car, screaming that I always made her feel stupid for wanting to help people instead of chasing money like me. I told her that was a pathetic excuse for betraying someone's trust for years. She shot back that I was a controlling workaholic who valued money over love. I got in my car and drove away as she stood there crying. Later that night, I got a hysterical call from her mom. Kay had spun them a completely different story, claiming I was emotionally abusive, forced her to stay in low-paying jobs so she'd depend on me financially, and constantly checked her phone out of paranoid jealousy. She told them I threatened to leave her penniless if she didn't stay with me. Her whole family now sees me as some manipulative monster who drove their sweet daughter to seek comfort elsewhere. I was so angry at her twisting everything that I immediately forwarded her mom all the screenshots Kay had given me earlier. Within hours, Kay started sending threatening messages. She said I had no right to share her private conversations and photos. She threatened to tell my company I was unstable, drinking heavily, and had made suicidal comments. She said she'd make sure I lost my job unless I deleted everything. Her threats backfired spectacularly. I forwarded our entire message thread to her parents showing her blackmail attempts. They were horrified seeing their daughter's manipulation and lies. Her mom called crying, apologizing for believing Kay's version. She revealed this wasn't Kay's first time doing this. She had similar patterns in past relationships but always painted herself as the victim. Her family always sided with her, assuming the guys were lying. I'm still struggling but feel more confident about leaving. Seeing the full extent of her deception and manipulation killed any lingering feelings of love. I blocked her number, email, and all social media. My team lead was understanding when I explained I was going through a rough breakup. They let me take a few mental health days and work remotely when needed. I stopped drinking completely after Kay's threats about my job. Started hitting the gym again just to tire myself out enough to sleep. The hardest part is realizing our entire 7-year relationship was built on lies. Every memory, vacations, holidays with family, talking about marriage, feels tainted knowing what she was doing behind my back. I keep wondering if she was texting those guys during our special moments together. But I'm trying to be grateful I discovered the truth before buying that ring or getting married. At least I'm not legally tied to her manipulation. I've started looking for therapists to work through my trust issues. For now I'm just focusing on work, staying sober, and rebuilding my life one day at a time. Her mom still texts occasionally asking me to consider forgiving Kay once she gets help. I don't respond. You can't fix years of lying and emotional manipulation with a few therapy sessions. I deserve someone who respects me enough to be honest. Update 2: The situation got even messier after my last update. I was at the gym trying to stick to my new routine when my sister called crying. She said she had been carrying a heavy secret since Kay and I started dating. During a house party in 2016, my sister caught Kay making out with a guy in the bathroom. When confronted, Kay fell to her knees begging my sister not to tell me. She claimed she was drunk, it was a one-time mistake, and would never happen again. She said it would destroy me and our relationship. My sister kept quiet, believing Kay was truly sorry. After reading my Reddit posts about the Snapchat messages, she realized Kay's cheating wasn't a one-time drunk mistake but a pattern going back years. She felt guilty for enabling Kay's behavior by staying silent. I assured her it wasn't her fault. Kay would have found ways to cheat regardless of who knew what. A few days after this revelation, around 2 a.m., loud banging woke me up. Kay was outside my apartment door, clearly wasted. She kept screaming my name and demanding I let her in. When I refused, she sat in the hallway wailing that she was pregnant and I couldn't abandon my child. Several neighbors came out to see what was happening. Security had to physically escort her out as she fought them, still screaming about being pregnant. I immediately texted her mom about the incident, suggesting she get Kay medical attention since she was heavily intoxicated and claiming pregnancy. Her mom confirmed my suspicions. Kay wasn't pregnant at all. She had been drinking heavily since our breakup, missing work, and having emotional outbursts. The daycare put her on probation after multiple hungover incidents where she snapped at children. Instead of accepting responsibility, Kay blamed me for destroying her life. She spread rumors that I leaked her private photos online as revenge for breaking up with me. Some of her coworkers and mutual friends believed her, flooding my social media with hateful messages calling me abusive and threatening to report me for revenge porn. I consulted a lawyer about getting a restraining order given her escalating behavior. While documenting evidence of harassment, I discovered something shocking. Kay had opened several credit cards in my name while we lived together. She racked up over $12,000 buying clothes, makeup, and gifts for herself. She intercepted the mail so I never saw the statements. My lawyer advised filing a police report for identity theft. When confronted with proof, Kay finally broke down and admitted to a shopping addiction she'd hidden for years. Those lunch meetings at work weren't just about cheating, she was meeting guys who bought her expensive things she couldn't afford on her salary. She used my credit to maintain the lifestyle she thought she deserved, justifying it because I owed her for pushing her to leave her fulfilling job. Her mom was mortified learning about the credit card fraud. She offered to help pay off the debt if I wouldn't press charges. She begged me to let them handle it privately since Kay was already struggling. I agreed on the condition that Kay gets professional help for her issues and stays away from me completely. Right now I'm working with the credit card companies to dispute the fraudulent charges. It's a mess, but at least the truth is finally coming out. Each revelation makes me more certain I made the right choice leaving. The person I loved never really existed, it was all a carefully crafted lie. Update 3. I wanted to give one final update on this whole situation. The past few months have been a slow journey toward healing. The credit card companies finally cleared all the fraudulent charges from my credit report. Kay's mom kept her word and paid off most of the debt, though Kay hasn't contributed a single dollar. Her mom still sends monthly payments and updates about Kay's progress, which I mostly ignore. Kay lost her job at the daycare after another drunk incident where she yelled at a parent. She moved back to her parents' house in another state and supposedly entered some kind of treatment program for her addiction and mental health issues. Her mom keeps reaching out, claiming Kay is really changing and wants to make amends. I ended up blocking her number too because I'm done with their entire family trying to fix things. The restraining order was approved after documenting Kay's drunk episode at my apartment and her ongoing harassment. She's legally required to stay 500 feet away from me, my home, and my workplace. She violated it once by sending handwritten letters to my office. They were mostly rambling apologies mixed with guilt trips about how I ruined her life. My lawyer suggested pressing charges for the violation, but I decided it wasn't worth prolonging contact. Some positive changes though. I got promoted to senior developer and the salary bump helped me move to a better apartment in a secured building with cameras. Started hanging out with my work team outside office hours and joined their weekend soccer league. It's refreshing having friends who don't know anything about my past drama. My sister ran into a mutual friend last week who mentioned Kay is already in a new relationship. She posts about him constantly on social media, calling him her soulmate and saying she finally found someone who understands her like no one else. She claims I was controlling and emotionally abusive, but he accepts her completely. Part of me wanted to warn this guy about her pattern of lying and manipulation. But I decided to stay out of it. Her issues aren't my problem anymore. I'm still single and plan to stay that way for a while. The trust issues will probably take years to work through. But I'm proud I got out before wasting more time on someone who never respected me or our relationship. Every time I remember how close I came to proposing, I feel grateful I checked her phone that day. My career is thriving. I've been completely sober for 2 months, and for the first time in years I feel at peace being alone. Some days are still hard, especially when memories pop up. But then I remember all the lies and manipulation, and feel relieved I escaped before marriage or kids complicated things. Sometimes losing someone you thought was your soulmate turns out to be the best thing that could happen. Kay taught me to trust my instincts and stop making excuses for toxic behavior. I'm focusing on building the life I always wanted, financial security, meaningful work, and genuine friendships. Maybe someday I'll be ready to date again, but for now I'm content healing and rediscovering who I am without her chaos in my life.